So just something to keep in mind. I know that a lot of us are on disability income, and that could be quite trying. Okay, so yesterday, some of you may know, well, backing up, some of you may know, I think I mentioned last time that I'm making an effort with the Novaris people to get on Gilenya, and I thought I'd be on Gilenya by now, but I guess my doctor's office missed a test or a blood screening for some sort of something, and I guess that held me up. I thought that I would have had the appointment by last Friday, but they never did call, and then they didn't call yesterday either. So I had an appointment for my neurologist, and that went all right. Although some of you may notice that doctors tend to speak really quickly, and that's not one of my strengths anymore. Especially trying to understand and comprehend what people are telling me if they speak too quickly. So he was talking quickly, explaining to me or asking me why do I think I'm not on the Gilenya yet, and he was going to help me by having his secretaries look into that for me. I said, wow, that's great, thank you. There really wasn't any kind of physical exam. There's no need for another MRI because I haven't started Gilenya at all, and also because they really do already know what's on my MRIs, and it's not good and it's not going to get better. So I guess they're just putting that expensive test aside for me. But after he was speaking to me very quickly and explaining to me how important it is that I start Gilenya and how he's concerned about the MS starting to do damage to my sight, I'm also concerned about that. Please don't misunderstand me, but he was talking so quickly, I couldn't even get a word in, really. But I was very polite, and I know that sometimes doctors can get very sensitive about patients speaking of what maybe they had found on the internet, and just some of the things that we run across, and we want to, shoot it back with our doctor. So I was very patient and quiet, and I did let him continue on with the direction that he was going. But then he started to really kind of tie up the loose ends of the appointment. I bet you all know what it feels like when you're at the doctor's office and it feels like he is closing the file and he is talking about your next appointment should be in January of 2013. And I was in that moment, and I had this pad of paper, and I had been logging my body temperatures before I get out of bed every morning because I suspect that there's a complication in my thyroid operation because I'm not losing any weight whatsoever and I'm hardly eating anything. And certainly not anything different than before I had the steroids. So all of the steroid weight is still staying on me. So he's closing the file and he's wrapping it up and he's like, Tracy, it's been a pleasure. And I was like, am I supposed to leave now? This is what I said to him. I said, am I supposed to leave now? Because I have questions. And he kind of looked at me and he lowered his shoulders and he put down his folder and his pen and he goes, go ahead with your questions. And at this moment, I didn't know what to feel. A part of you just wants to go on and on and on. I can't believe you were going to leave without asking me any questions. But I let that go. And I took out my pad and paper and I showed him 14 days of temperature logging that I had been taking with a digital thermometer. And for all of you that don't know, hypothermia is a sign that your body temperature, first off, is just too low. It's not normal, and that could signify a problem with your thyroid. So I did show him that, and he very quickly looked at them and goes, yeah, that's not very low. That doesn't strike me as very low. And I was very concerned because in the early years of me having multiple sclerosis, I was very used to being blown off and just, like, oh, well, you have 2 lesions. Come back in 5 years when you have more and we'll have no choice but to diagnose you. I've heard this before. I've heard it coming before. So when he said that to me, I was disappointed at first, but I think there was just a little bit more spunk in me yesterday. And I said to him, okay, I need someone to listen to me. Because I've had a 1.5 years of idiopathic hot flashes that apparently after tests show no connection to perimenopause or menopause itself. They say you're in full, I could have a baby at any time if I wanted to at this age. There's no loss of eggs or hormone in me. Then I had idiopathic hives that put me in the hospital and made me go on steroids twice. And I have so much steroids that I had to be on. I put on like 60 pounds. That was idiopathic. And now I said to him, I said, now you're telling me I have idiopathic hypothermia. I need someone who's going to stop telling me I have idiopathic anything and have them do their job. I need help. I didn't say the do your job part. That was a little me right now. But I did say everything else. And he said, okay, all right. He says, okay. He goes, what? I said, I think I know. He goes, what do you know? I said, I think I've got all of my lesions in the periventricle area of the brain, which sits atop the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Now, my brain is swelling so much, and there's so much activity with swelling in my whole body. I can't take my rings off. My legs are swelling. Everything's a mess. I believe that with all of the activity in my brain, that it's causing my hypothalamus either pressure or just missed signals, just causing everything to just misfire, and my adrenal system isn't working right. And he goes, no. The pressure in your brain is not enough to cause problems with your hypothalamus. And I said, really? The pressure in my brain that makes my eyes feel like it's going to pop out, and my teeth and gums start to throb, and my ears drain because of the pressure in my ear? Are you serious? Really? And he said, well, if you had your ears draining, first of all, you'd be dead. You'd just be dead. And I was like, I just may surprise you. So that got his attention also. And he said to me, he goes, you have a sac or a protective pillow around your brain that keeps your brain and your fluid inside of it, so it wouldn't leak out your brains because of pressure. And I said, really? You mean that pillow up there that my white blood cells have been doing nothing but chewing through so they can get to my brain and start destroying it too? That protective barrier, the blood-brain barrier that has a bunch of holes in it? And then I think that struck a nerve with him too, because I can't believe that these people who go to school all these years, they don't think beyond what they've been taught. But I'm in this body. I said, listen, you've got me for 15 minutes. I've had me for over 40 years, and I'm going to have myself for another 4 months before I see you again. It's important that you hear me. I've got interesting stuff up here that I have been looking up on the internet, and I'm getting some wisdom going on, and I need you to hear me out. So he said he was going to hear me. He said, okay. He said that I was going about this the right way. He said my research was sound, and because I was dealing with scientific terms and logic. So I got his attention in that regard. Then he said, but you're coming to the conclusion in a wrong way. And I said, okay, fine. What am I not understanding? Because I'm not a doctor. I just have little bits and pieces. And he said, there's no way your pressure could cause your hypothalamus not to work well. I said, what about the pituitary? He goes, no. And he's pretty much dismissing me. And I was like, seriously, you don't understand the pressure in my brain and what it feels like. I can't wear headbands. I can't wear my eyeglasses. If someone were to touch my head, it hurts to the touch. That's how much pressure I have in my brain sometimes because of all the scarring. And he said to me, he says, he goes, I don't, and he wasn't really connecting, really. And I said, well, what about Hashimoto's disease? Well, that was a huge flag for him. Then he's like, Hashimoto's. And I said, yes, isn't that an autoimmune disease? I'm known for not having a very bang-up autoimmune system, right? It's already attacking my brain. Hashimoto's is the syndrome or disease where the autoimmune system attacks the thyroid. And he stopped, and he said, now I can't say for certain that Hashimoto's cannot be connected in some way to multiple sclerosis. I'd have to do some research on that. And I gotta tell you, I was so floored. I was so excited. It was just wonderful to hear him say that. I think I literally said, praise the Lord, you've listened to me. And he was kind of surprised. It's like, wow, okay. And then I said, we got to do something about this. Something's got to happen. We got to move forward. We can't just let me sit still and let it all keep coming on me. And he said, you know, what you need is you need to go see a specialist, an endocrinologist. And I was like, thank you, Lord. Finally. And it's not that I don't have insurance that lets me go to any doctor I want. That's not it. I like this neurologist, and if any of you have any kind of experience with any kind of doctors that aren't giving you the right answers, when you pick up and go, they talk bad about you to the other doctors. They say, like, you're kind of, you're kind of overreacting, you're very melodramatic. I've had doctors talk bad about me to other doctors, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go over his head to an endocrinologist. I needed this doctor to see what I was saying and him send me to the endocrinologist. This is a lot easier than typing this in an email to your mother-in-law, I gotta tell you, because my hands are still throbbing because of that. Well, he's sending me to an endocrinologist for a complete endocrine system screening, and I go already on the 22nd of October, and it's okay if nothing shows up in that. I just need to know that my concerns are founded. They can't keep calling everything idio something, or I'm going to start calling them idiots. Because you can't just keep calling something idiopathic this, idiopathic that, simply because you don't know where this is coming from. It's one thing to say, I don't know where it's coming from, but don't do nothing about it. I mean, I've had 3 significant idiopathic hormonal side effects. I've had the hot flashes. I've had the hives several times in the last 2 years, big time hives. And then I have this hypothermia going on where my body temperature, he's like, well, these temperatures are not really that low. I said, I once had 93.7. What about that? He goes, 93.7 is dangerous. And I said, well, I had it. That's what got me paying attention to these temperatures. He said, that's lethal. You can die from 93.7. I said, well, I was that low. So, and I know I have emails. I told a lot of people that I had it, so I just have to find, he says, I want documentation of that. I said, okay, I can get that for you. So, I know I'm kind of ranting and raving, but it was a good day. I had progress at my doctor. I'm exhausted today, though. I can't really do too much. I just feel so drained. And I did have to, by the way, say to my doctor, could you please slow down? I can't understand you. And I couldn't understand how a doctor who is a neurologist and trained to take care of me with multiple sclerosis doesn't understand that with cognitive problems, he would need to speak more clearly and more slowly. I think sometimes that they are so pressed with so many patients that maybe that could cause problems. So I did ask him to slow down, and even his secretaries and nurses, I also had to ask them to please repeat things, and they seemed very rushed with it. But that's a fact of life for me, and maybe I can't expect the people at Walmart to do it for me, but I definitely think I can expect my doctor's office to slow down for me, because they should know above all else that I need them to not be so quick, that I don't comprehend as well as I used to. So, with all that said, I don't know how much time I've used, but I have another interesting video I'm going to make concerning some studies that I've heard about Alzheimer's. I hope I'm pronouncing Alzheimer's. And I'm feeling better not because of medicines or vitamins. I'm feeling better because I'm teaching myself new things to do. New things to do creatively. And I heard a study about our brain cells or nerve endings can actually be created, can be stimulated to grow by learning new things. So I'll talk more about that and let you know all the different hobbies I've picked up, and that it really has helped me. I feel better. And I've got quite an array of paintings around my room. So, okay, I'll leave that for the next video. Try to get off right now. You know what? Just God bless you. And I just hope and pray that if you have pain, that God will give you peace with it, and in some way give you some sort of ease from it, so it's not so drowning and suffocating on you today. I hope you feel better today, and tomorrow even more. So thanks everybody, and I'll be back with you soon.